Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, always spelled with a K. And I am now 7 miles south of the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Bill Mill, the belly of the beast, the California Capitol building at 10th and L Streets in downtown Sacramento. Remember that tonight's show consists entirely of my opinion and my opinion only, and that this is an exhibition, not a competition, so please, no wagering. Also, Rat Salad Deluxe is going to be your bartender tonight. She pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is still lighted, although you can't see it because we're temporarily no longer doing video until we get to our free state. The Saloon, as always, however, continues to serve stiff drinks, facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, intent, and common sense. We don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the Saloon, where nothing is sacred, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. So let there be no mistake, I love my country, but I abjure its leftist leaders and anyone who won't put America and its lawful citizens first, obey the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, uphold the rule of law, and embrace due process. So you know what? If that makes me a white supremacist, terrorist, extremist, so be it. So tonight, in the Saloon. By the way, I should tell you that as a special returning guest, we have Kari Baxter Donovan. It is Thursday. It is July 29th. It's almost August already. The year of our Lord, 2021. 2020 was bad enough. 2021 is here, and welcome. Speaking of welcome, Kari Baxter Donovan, do I have you on the line, pray tell?
You do. I'm here. Did you hear me giggling and, loving your opening? You have the best opening ever.
Well, thank you. Thank you ever so kindly. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Funny thing was, I told everybody this before. You and I had about almost an hour discussion earlier today, just riffing off of each other, talking about all sorts of stuff, which we will go into tonight, I swear, folks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But anytime we get together. Now, here's the other thing. I have never once met you. I have never once met Kari Baxter Donovan. So perhaps I should put a little bit of, I think I've got some new folks here tonight that I may not have gotten here before. I quantify you as my ECPG, which is my East Coast political goddess. And the reason I say that is because historically I have gone to you for politics and what's occurring on the East Coast, specifically North Carolina where you are, but also a lot of insight as to what's occurring politically on the East Coast of the United States of America. And I have had you on the show probably close to, I'd say 15 or 20 times. I actually looked that up just to see if that was true. And it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is kind of cool, actually.
Cool. Yeah.
And so I like to have you on because since the first time we spoke and now you have been everywhere, including 3 World's Fairs and a goat screw, and all points in between. You probably know the dude with the pointy hat in Vatican City as well.
I do.
Know everybody.
Totally, right. I do. I know. No, I don't.
Oh,
but we're in the Saloon. We can, we can kick back and tell some good stories.
We can chat about it.
I haven't. I've
not
met the Pope.
Tonight, just in case, folks, you're wondering, I had to start the show over again. The Spreaker crashed because the internet here is weak. And at the house, I think it's going to be much more robust when I get there into a free state. SHR Media will continue. Awesome. I can't wait. But tonight we're going to poke fun at leftists and the Demorats and the American Media Maggots, and we're going to discuss how it is that they are attempting to completely tank the United States of America There are so many topics, so many things to say, so much stuff to chat about. Just more buttery, more buttery political goodness than you can shake a dead marmot at. So I thought, though, what we do is folks don't know that you have I can't really call it a domicile, but you have a new thing in your life, not a person, but a thing that I believe
it feels like a person.
It's got a person name, though, doesn't it?
Well, okay, so here's my thing.
Okay.
I wanted to name the boat Courageous. I was all about courageous, right?
Crater?
And courageous.
Oh, courageous, okay.
Courageous. And, so I had wanted to name it Courageous, but then the kids came up with a great idea.
Where the hell did I get Crater?
You've been drinking too much.
Jesus, no, I just have a Diet Coke over here. What the hell?
So listen to this name. Skid Blatnir.
What?
It's like a Skid Bladnir. I don't know. We haven't named it yet.
Norwegian?
But Skid Bladnir is in Norwegian. Yes, where all of the gods have room for all of their weapons. Yes. Yeah, so all the gods have room for all of their weapons. And so the kids were like geeking out and having so much fun with each other at Christmas time over this name. I was like, okay, fine, then go ahead. If my children are going to be happy and having a good time with each other, that's really what I want. So I'll let you name the boat Skid Bladnir. But we haven't actually named it yet.
Okay.
I still want Courageous.
Courageous is not bad. Yeah. Or you could name it now. The last folks that are just tuning in, I'm BZ. That's Kari Baxter Donovan. And she's been on the show numerous times before. We're talking about her new boat. She has a new boat. Now, the photos that I have seen, it's a work in progress. And
it's a work in progress.
You've been working on it.
We got the boat for about, I guess, on and off, right? We haven't been full time. And it's all, human. This is all sweat equity.
Okay.
So we're trying to do it all ourselves. And
how long have you had it, though?
So 8 months. About 8 months.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's in the water. So now it's in the water. It had been out of the water for over 3 years. So, and it was a liveaboard. And the guy who had the boat before was a pack rat. And everything in the place was wet and moldy and stanky. And I saw this boat and I was like, we're crazy. This is the craziest thing I've ever thought to do. But the price was really good. And it was like, okay, come on, just like put some sweat equity in it. I mean, we can do anything we put our minds to. We can do it. And then and a couple of times I freaked out and thought, just let the damn thing sail away. I don't care. It can go crash into a shore. It's hard work. But I sort of feel like this boat is a person to me. I actually have like a relationship with my boat now. And my boat is not a woman. My boat is a man. Sorry.
Okay.
So I don't like this she stuff. I don't refer to my boat as she because my boat is an old naval dude. And so I have a thing with my boat. It's a Cal 246, so it's 46 feet.
46 feet? I did not realize it was that
46.
big.
It's humongous. Yes, it's
Holy
huge.
crap.
And it has it has a V berth with a bath and a salon with these nine huge windows. And main cabin is huge with a full bath, so 2 full baths. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's huge. Get out! It's humongous. It's a huge storage for all the rafts and all the everything.
I've looked at the photos. You have a place on Facebook for Kari Baxter Donovan, and folks, you can go there and find her on Facebook, and you can see the boat. And the last I've seen, it said Betsy on the back, obviously.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a little boat that I took the picture on 4th of July weekend.
Oh, wrong boat.
That's
okay.
not my boat.
No wonder I'm thinking,
Yeah, no,
this thing is awfully small for her boat. All of a sudden, 46 feet.
No. It got dropped into the water on 4th of July weekend, which was very important to me. It wasn't probably actually completely ready to get into the water yet, but I'm like, this boat is getting into the water on 4th of July because it is the independence of the boat. See, the boat is a person to me. The boat is a naval dude, and it has it reminds me of this guy. The shipmaker's name is Bill Lapworth, and he's a famous shipmaker. This is a famous boat, okay? And it's like there's a number of naval dudes that are connected to my boat, and so my boat is a naval dude. It needed to be released on 4th of July, so it was going to have to happen, and it's in Washington, North Carolina. Washington, North Carolina is the first town that was named for George Washington. So it was named in 1776, Washington, North Carolina, for George Washington. And I have this boat, and I was like, that boat is going, and I have a video on my Facebook page where the boat was dropped into the water, and I turn around and head to the road to get something, and there's an Independence Day, 4th of July parade coming down the road, and I'm just like, okay, this was a good moment, and that was the only moment that was good that weekend, but because the pin fell out of the steering wheel, and we had a number of issues. But yes,
oops,
that's the fun that you get with a boat.
Well, people have typically quantified a boat as a big pit in the water that you throw money into. I've never had a boat. I've just never had the bite for a boat. Around Sacramento, there's a place called the Sacramento Delta, and people live on their boats, live on houseboats, etc. And it would be a great wayfarer, vagabond-type life. But a 40, I did not realize, Kari Baxter Donovan, it is 46 feet long.
There were 2 people living on it full time, for years. It's a liveaboard, but I'm not living on it. No way. I'm not a boat liver. But it's a big boat.
Okay, so what made you decide one day, I got to have we should say it's a sailboat, right? With a motor. Okay.
It's a sailboat. Yep.
All right.
It does have a motor.
So what possessed you to say, you know what, that boat right there, I want it?
Yeah. So craziness. So I had, was it get a beach house or get a boat? And so I had wanted a beach house, and I'd wanted a beach house, and I think what it was that I wanted my sons, especially my older son who's 23. He is a sailor, and he really likes to sail. So I knew, hey, I can get a beach house all day long. I can get the best beach house ever created. Jimmy Jams, my oldest son, is not going to come visit me. But you know what he will? He'll come to visit a boat. So really, it's my little manipulation, because I'm a woman. I'm a mom. I want to see my boys. And so I thought, if I get this boat, he will come and see me, because it will be like my little cottage. So this boat is my cottage, and I'm not living on it, but I'll treat it like a cottage, and he'll come and see me, and that will be cool, because otherwise I'm not going to get to see my son, Jimmy, my oldest one. That's really what made me just get my head around it.
Okay, so 46 feet is not small. Hey, welcome to Leslie in chat, and also to one viewer who I have not unmasked. So it's 46 feet long. It is a sailboat with a motor. Your goal was to, and I do not know the answer to this question, is it in a lake, or will it be going in the ocean?
Yes, so I grew up on Lake Michigan, and here's a funny thing about this boat. I grew up in Lake Michigan. My grandfather had a house right on Lake Michigan, like with a 180-degree view of Lake Michigan. I'm a lake girl, and those are all my happiest memories, my grandpa at my grandpa's house in Michigan on Lake Michigan. And this boat came from Lake Michigan, would have sailed right past my grandfather's house, and was at a yacht club in Chicago and sailed back and forth. We found some maps, all these maps from the original owner. And in the boat, it says, save the Great Lakes. Michigan is known for all the Great Lakes, right, of course. So it was hard for me, because I always want to go home. I want to go home to Michigan and be at my beach house. That's my fantasy, though, I was going to spend my life doing. And so it's weird, because now I have a boat, and I'm like, I have a boat, and I'm going to go around the Outer Banks. That's North Carolina. I'm going to go around the Outer Banks and get into the ocean. And I just was like, I'm just going to get my head around it, because if other people can do it, I can do it. Why can I not do this?
Yeah, there's no reason you couldn't.
If other people can do it, I can do it.
Sure,
Yeah,
if you have the cash and the wherewithal and the motivation to do it. So that brings me to my next question, which is, have you sailed before? What's your history with boats, if any?
A little bit. I'm not going to lie and say that I am a great sailor. But again, if other people can learn how to sail, I can learn how to sail. And my son Jimmy and Steven have sailed, so they're sailors. And you can always hire someone to sail. So I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not going to lie and say that I'm going to go around the world or anything. But, if other people can learn, so can I.
Okay. Now, when you got this boat, it's Boat Talk with Kari Baxter Donovan and BZ. We're talking about boats this evening.
Right.
So what made you think that you could get a boat, a 46-foot sailing boat, and know with any kind of confidence or competence that you would be able to bring it around, make it solid, make it reliable? Did you have any people that had done something like that before, or did you decide, you know what, new boat, I'm ready to jump in with both feet and make everything go?
No, I have people. No, I'm not doing it all by myself. So there are people who are interested in helping, who want to go sailing, and I just figured, hey, it's kind of like, well, I always had this dream that I was going to buy a house. I was going to have my grandfather's house, actually. I wanted to have my grandfather's house, and what I was going to do is just like, I was going to be the cool granola person who would just be like, open door, come and stay, like Goodwill offering, leave what you want, get a roll of toilet paper on the way out, and replace your toilet paper, replace your paper towels, whatever, and have a good time. And so, I'm kind of a granola that way. It's cooperative. So I know I have people, and then I have my sons, and then there's a boatyard. It was in a boatyard. So people are very helpful. And here's the thing. This is what I think is very interesting, is this whole boating community. People help each other, and that boating community is growing. Like all of these new people, right? There are lots of people who are new to boating because it's. Thank you.
We were talking about that.
Exactly.
I'm glad you brought that up. I think that is a way cool thing to know. Hey, welcome to Sergeant Booker. Just jumped into chat. You brought something up to me when we spoke earlier today that I had not thought, but it makes perfect sense. Just as people, and I know this for a fact, at least in California, always spell it with a K. I know for a fact here in this state, if you want to rent an RV, if you don't have one, good damn luck trying to find one, because everybody and their brother and their third cousin, fourth removed, are renting RVs just to get the hell out of their current situation and unleash their brain a little bit. And I hadn't thought about that, but that makes perfect sense. People are doing that with boats.
With boats, I read an article about the increase in boats. They can't keep boats on the shelves. The boats are flying, and even old boats. And so parts, paint, everything that you can think of that you need to fix an old boat up is hard to get a hold of. You could be waiting for a while because the community is growing. And the community is growing because it's people who are not your leftists. These are not your fragile elitist leftists. These are people who say, well, get your head around it and get some skin in the game and go get into the ocean away from other people. I mean, these are rugged, individual type of people, but also community-minded, which is kind of weird. Like walking down the dock to get to the boat, you're stopped by 17 different people who all want to have a conversation. Like, hey, you're here. How are you doing? What's going on? You want to go get a drink? You want to go to the beer? Do you need any ice? And it's really kind of cool because we're all running away from these snotty, elitist, low IQ morons, right? And it's great. Like people in their boat clothes, people in their stinky shoes, and it doesn't even matter. It's like, just get me away from all of those crazy people.
That's
happening.
That's one thing I noticed. I had a girlfriend a long time ago that lived in the Delta, and she had some friends that lived on a houseboat. And we're in the process of spiffying up the houseboat. I mean, it literally was a houseboat. It was a 2-story house on a big framed boat. And one thing I learned about being in the Delta, because she lived in a little place called Locke, L-O-C-K-E, which is a Chinese community. All strange little teeny place. She lived above the Buddhist church there and knew everybody in the Delta. Locke is located on the river right next to the Delta. And just as you say, it's an insular little community. Everybody knows everybody. And if you need some help with your boat or your houseboat or something like that, everybody's there and willing to pitch in. It's really a tight-knit community with a lot of alcohol involved.
Yeah, there is a lot of alcohol. So there's always alcohol. And I have my provisions ready, which at Christmas time, everybody I know gave me whiskey. So I have all different whiskey, scotch, and bourbon. I have thinking of building my bar on the boat. Yeah.
Why not?
I haven't opened any of it since Christmas. But it was funny that the first thing that people thought of was to give me provisions, give me alcohol for my bar. So I have so much alcohol.
Hey,
and
I should be so lucky. I should be so lucky.
Well, hey, come on over, and you can, go yachting with me.
Okay.
So
put
my
that to
fantasy, my fantasy is the whole thing. I mean, the interior is all teak. So the whole thing.
Oh, really?
I think it has to be polished up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
That's one thing.
It has to be polished up.
That's one thing you got to do is you got to put some interior photos in there because teak is once varnished appropriately and polished. Teak is absolutely gorgeous. So I saw photos of you applying some kind of a non-skid thing to the deck, and you were fixing the engine, and there were a whole lot of things to do. And it's in the water now, you say?
It's in the water.
Okay, it's a 46-foot long boat.
46 foot. The Cal 246. Yep.
Built by
Bill Lapworth.
Lapworth.
So
okay.
I'm so obsessed. I'm so obsessed with stuff like this. So Bill Lapworth he was a naval architect, and he has passed, but he was famous for these California boats, and it's a famous boat. So it's cool. And then what's cool about it is digging around in all of this storage. This guy who lived on it, I don't know what he was thinking, but crammed into this little corner where I pull them out and get them all, shaking out. Like, what the heck? All of these sails that were made by Ted E. Hood, who was another naval dude, a world-renowned sailmaker and sailor. So it's like this is incredible. I can't believe that I just found these sails just shoved into this corner that were original to the boat. They must have been original to the boat in 1975, right? It was the year before the bicentennial. So I just geek out about all that stuff. So I just love it. And my idea was that this poor little, it's all this the spirit of the Navy is sitting there. And that's why it had to go back into the water on the 4th of July for its independence back in the water.
See, stuff like that, historically speaking, I think is wonderful. And boats like yours are literally one of a kind. And there is a history with that. You said there were what? Yours was what? Built in 76, you said?
1975.
75. Okay. 1 year off from, 1976, 1776. I'd say that's got a little bit of significance right there for you, if nothing else, which I think is way cool.
Thank you. It was the boat was calling me, and then when I was on it, I'm like, I don't know what the heck am I thinking. But Bill Lapworth also, he was born in Detroit, Michigan. I was born in Wyandotte, Michigan, which is right around the corner from Detroit, Michigan, where I grew up. And so just all these little things where I feel like, listen, I don't care what's going on in the world sometimes. I just sit and think about this boat, and it has these weird connections that make me happy. And so, I'm there with my provisions. I'm going to be chilling with my bar. I mean, I need to get away from the crazy stuff.
Oh, sure.
So
we're going to get to the crazy stuff. I make all
these little things fun.
We will get to the crazy stuff tonight, people, but it's good. Everybody needs a pressure release valve. And by the week, our human pressure release valves are being removed by angry leftists all across the fruited plain. And it's something like that, a hobby, a boat, a skill, doing internet radio, whatever it is that blows up your skirts, do it. You need an avocation or something to get away from the ridiculous GERP here in the United States. Like I say, we will get to all the GERP that's fit to excoriate a little bit later on tonight when we come back from the break. What do I have? I got 3 more minutes. Okay. We can talk about the boat for another 3 more minutes. There'll be a break, and then we come back. Maybe we can start to get into some politics. We spoke about some things that you would like to address tonight, and I would like to get to those. Plus, OMG, there's so much going on these days. Folks, we're talking to Kari Baxter Donovan. She is what I quantified back in 2017, Kari, 2017, when I first had you on the show, the ECPG, which is the East Coast Political Goddess. And you have since gone boom. You have exploded, expanded. You are a writer par excellence, tons of articles all over the place. We will get to those as well. But in terms of the boat, because I think this is just such a way cool thing, I had something kind of like what you have right now with your boat, but I had at my cabin in the Sierra Nevada mountains. I knew that sooner or later what is occurring now was going to occur, so I just had to enjoy it while I could. But with the stupid job that I had for as long as I had it, when I was commuting, and then when I wasn't commuting, but I would go up on the weekends, it's nice to go up to that place, and it's an escape from reality. I'd go in, it's like walking into my cave and pulling my huge boulder in behind me. And it was just a way to escape the craziness and zaniness of life. Well, now the state of California, always spell it with a K, has taken that from me because every summer for at least 6 months, I worry about that place burning down, which is one of the major motivations for me deciding that I had to get out of California, always spell it with a K. It used to be my pressure valve. Now all it does is cause me heartache and angst. And, you know, you can't live like that. I will find... I know,
I'm so sorry to hear that.
I will find my pressure release valve, and it will be this, continuing to do this once I get completely situated and, you know, we're out of 2 houses into a third. We're out of storage units, blah, 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 blah. And then I can get back and start doing the show again. So for the folks that are here, Kari Baxter Donovan will be here for the entire first hour, maybe more, maybe less. I'm not sure. Thanks to Sergeant Booker. Thanks to Leslie. Thanks to one viewer for being in chat, and for everybody who is listening live or is listening in podcast. One interesting point before I go to the break. I had said for the past year and a half, almost 2 years, that I thanked the American trucker because the American trucker kept America moving now more than ever. It was true then, but I still am getting emails from truckers who listen to the show in podcast. Some catch it live. Most listen in podcast. I meant it then, and I mean it now, especially when there are so few drivers. Now, when we come back, I want to talk to Kari about an article that I just discovered about something like that. And things are changing, folks. Things are changing. But to the American truckers for keeping things moving, thank you for doing this. 2021 or 2020 was your year of hell, and you still kept driving. Now, truckers, trucking companies are in desperate need of drivers, and that's affecting everyone and every supply chain. Yeah. Every supply chain.
Yeah, that's
plus
the importance of truckers.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Plus this other article that I just discovered with regard to a strike coming soon to a port near you. Oh.
Well, as much as it is going to inconvenience us, I guess, I mean, I'm going to stand with the truckers. I'm picking the truckers.
Yeah, it's not exactly that, and I will tell you all about that, folks.
No, more?
When I come back. Yeah, it's not exactly that. When I come back, I gotta move my Pepsi out of the way so I can see the board. And we'll be right back after this. That's Kari Baxter Donovan, and I'm not. Or am I? No, I don't think so.
No, you're not. It's the beard. It gives you away.
I know. Come on, play. There we go. There we go.
Conservative media done right. Goodbye. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right. We're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
Unleashed Jeremy Hansen, the most explosive pro-American podcast on the planet. Pro-MAGA, pro-Trump, pro-conservative. Come join the resistance. Fight for what really matters in America. 5 p.m. Central on UJHLive.com, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Pandora, or MAGAbook.com. Come join the resistance and fight for America. Unleashed Jeremy Hansen.
Do you value yourself, your family, your friends? Want to know more about how to survive, thrive, and stay alive in these dynamic times? Listen to Around the Campfire with Kate, Thursday nights and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, only on PSN TV. That's Around the Campfire with Kate. News that nobody in the MSM wants to report. Remember, train hard, train smart to survive, thrive, and stay alive.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we are back. Thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. I'm BZ, the bloviating Zeppelin, and you're in the Saloon. So you can follow me on Twitter. I'm really active on Twitter still. I haven't been kicked off Twitter. Well, I was kicked off once. Okay, come on. I was kicked off once, but you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. And if you would, since we're all listening through Spreaker tonight, if you would share the show right now through Spreaker, through wherever you happen to be listening to it. If you're listening to the show later in podcast, please share the show all over the place. And you can share me on, let's see if I have this all right. I'm on Spotify. I'm on iHeart. I'm on Apple Podcasts. I'm on Google something or other. I'm on Podcast Addict. I'm no longer on YouTube, and I'm no longer on Facebook. I hope to come back with those once I make the move to a free state. Kari Baxter Donovan is here tonight. For the first half hour, we talked about her boat, which I think is a wonderful thing. Before we move on, I wanted to ask Kari Baxter Donovan if you could put some photos of the interior of the boat. You mentioned teak on the inside. So it's on the water now, is it, Kari?
It is. It's on the water now. It still needs, the headliner still has to be repaired, replaced, completely replaced because it's just old. And pretty much, I think we're down to the headliner and then just some cosmetic stuff, pretty much.
Okay.
But that headliner will take a little while because it's 46 feet of headliner. So.
Okay, which is basically
that's the holdup right now.
Like a headliner of a car. It's fabric, I'm guessing,
yeah.
or wood or something like that.
It's fabric, but I think we're gonna use some it looks like a bead and board, and it's a plastic.
Okay.
So haven't decided yet. But this thing is just this old.
How was the interior? I mean, does it have a bed? Does it have a table? Does it have a bench? Does it have a little kitchen?
It's got a huge salon. So the salon has enough space to seat probably, I would say 8 or 9 people.
Wow,
at a table, big table. And then it has a very long, counter, and the refrigerator there is, there, and a sink, and it's very, very long that way. And then it has a workroom, an engine room. It has a main cabin that has enough room to sleep 4 or 5 people in there, and a bathroom, full shower, right, in a bathroom in the main cabin. And then there's the V-berth, which is enough for 2. And if you're friendly, 3 people could sleep back there. It has its own room. Bathroom back there as well. So, but the salon is what I really loved, and because it has these humongous windows, because most of the boats don't have those windows. They have these small windows, portholes, or in the salon area, and that's kind of the claim to fame for this Cal 240 California boat, Bill Lapworth design, is these huge windows. So you can go downstairs and still get this great, view of what's going on. So, yeah, and it's just teak everywhere, and it's fun because when you get it polished up, it's beautiful. And I would love for it to have this very classic navy, red, white, and blue thing. So I had a great time picking up pictures. I have this photo of the USS Constitution. Yeah, I geeked out. I got Sons of Liberty, so I had all red and white striped towels because it was all the Sons of Liberty theme. Totally geeked out. I love it. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, but why not? Why not? Everybody needs.
Yeah, why not have fun?
I hate to make it as petty as a distraction. It's much more than a distraction. But we mentioned earlier, it's an escape. Ah, my God, everybody needs an escape these days. You can't continue to operate as a human being under pressure like this from so many different angles.
Exactly.
It's just nuts.
That's probably a lot of that's a lot of the decision making was I just can't take it anymore. I either need my little beach house where my children are never going to come visit me, or I need a boat where they will, and I'll just get my head around it. And won't it be a great big adventure to figure this whole thing out and fix it up and make it? What I want is I want someone to have been sailing and leave and think that was so awesome. So I even have a signature drink. I have a signature snack. I want the towels to be the best towels ever. I want the floor of the shower to be these river rocks. I want it to be an experience. so that people will think that was just an amazing getaway. And maybe we just sailed around, let's just go over here to Shackleford and go look at the horses and come back. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That is so completely cool. You have a bunch of pictures in Facebook. I didn't look at your Twitter feed today. Are there a bunch of boat pictures in your Twitter as well?
Yeah, I put a lot of pictures up on Twitter. I'm mostly active on Twitter. Okay. There's some interior pictures on Twitter, I'm sure. Maybe I'll go find one and retweet it myself.
Okay. Hey, while we're talking about it, tell people where you can be found on Twitter, if you would.
So my name on Twitter is Sarosa, and it's at SAORSA 1776. That's me on Twitter. And I'm on Gab and MeWe. I always use the same name wherever I am. So on Getter. On Facebook, I'm Kari Baxter Donovan. But everywhere else, I'm Sarosa 1776. So,
let's move into the area that you spoke to me about earlier, and I was not aware of. I mean, I'm aware of some of this. You spoke earlier to me today about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louis Gohmert. So tell me again and tell folks what's happening with those two folks and D.C., if you would, please.
So today there was a very weird, it's actually historic and mind-boggling what happened. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louis Gohmert and Matt Gaetz and maybe some others, but those are the three main characters in this story today, went to investigate at the D.C. jail the conditions, which they have heard are inhumane, and there's all kinds of problems at the D.C. jail. Now, remember, the D.C. jail is underneath Democrat Muriel Bowser. She's a bad guy. Boo! Right. Everybody goes boo when we hear that name, right? Because she was instrumental in what happened in January 6th, and she's been abusing Trump supporters with her power of her office for, a year at least that I know of, and I've seen with my own eyes. So she is a bad dude, and she has control over the D.C. jail. Inside the D.C. jail are people who have been detained since January 6th. Some of them, a couple of them have come in, I think, since. Now they've got their regular prisoners, and then they've got these detainees from January 6th who've been there, many of them in solitary confinement. I think we're talking about 12 to 15 people. On top of the other prisoners who are being held, which there's an activist named Suzanne Monk, and she's the one who brought this story to my attention. So going back to April, May-ish, she has some friends. One of them, I think, is being detained at the prison, and she heard that there were some inhumane conditions, that the prisoners there were being beaten, and that bad things were happening. So she goes and she writes. She has a friend, a connection with somebody who's on the oversight committee. She's in D.C., and she tells them this story. The guy in the oversight committee sends a letter to Muriel Bowser back in March, April-ish, and says, hey, we're hearing bad stuff about this prison, and you want to become a state, and these are things that you really need to answer for. What are the conditions of that prison and what's going on? So Muriel Bowser, she refuses to answer. They waited for a while, and that's at what time Suzanne contacted me, and she said, are you interested in this story? And I said, yes. So she sent me the information. I confirmed with the oversight committee that they had sent the letter, that they had not received a reply back from Bowser, and it sort of sat there, a story I wrote, and I broke it, and just kind of sat there for a little while, for, I don't know, maybe a month or so, and ish, right? And so at that time, Suzanne was going around in D.C. really trying to raise awareness. She's friends with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and there wasn't much movement until probably about a month ago, so sometime in June. Then she had another press conference, and it was three people, Ken McClinton and her friend Isaac, and I think one other speaker. So 3 to 4 people. I wrote another article about that. They have a little press conference. They say, hey, listen, these are inhumane conditions. Bowser won't answer. We have someone on the oversight committee. They've sent a letter. There's no response. We're concerned about the condition of these prisoners who are being held. They're being questioned. They're being threatened. Now, if you think about it, right, now we're moving into this House hearing under Nancy Pelosi, which is basically just to demonize, Trump supporters and Trump. And so you can imagine, I wonder what they're being questioned about. And so we're hearing that some of them have gotten graphic injuries, and the violence is escalating. And so there's another group that jumped in. Matt Brainard had another rally that got a little bit more media attention, but it's not really a big story outside it being sort of an interesting hashtag. So Marjorie Taylor Greene goes yesterday, and she had a press conference with Louis Gohmert and Matt Gaetz and I think Andy Biggs, maybe. I can't remember all of the names. They have a press conference in front of the Department of Justice, okay? And to say, listen, we've sent letters from the Oversight Committee. They've sent letters from the Judicial Committee. I think Gohmert is on the Judicial Committee. One of them is on the Judicial Committee. So they're there, and they're saying, we are representatives of these committees. We've sent you letters to the Department of Justice. We've sent letters to the jail now, and we're not getting any answers for anything on the commission, anything that we're interested in about the prisoners that are being held, or any of the information that we need that's, from the 6th as to why Nancy Pelosi denied law enforcement, and we have all of these questions and no one's answering us. Well, the Department of Justice wouldn't let them in the building. So then, and this is an article that I wrote that's up at David Harris Jr. Media, is then what Suzanne Monk, who's a well-known activist in this area, she calls it the twerk wagon. It's a group of leftists who come and just make noise and make threats and, hurl things at people to make them stop so that nobody can be heard. So this twerk wagon shows up at this press conference, and they start threatening the Congress people that are there trying to have a press conference. Literally everyone rushes off. The Department of Justice wouldn't let them in, and Marjorie Taylor Greene later says, hey, we've almost had House members murdered on a baseball field. It was obvious the violence was escalating. We're getting threatened. There's all of this chaos going on and noise, and Right Side Broadcasting had recorded the whole thing. The Department of Justice would not let them come in, wouldn't even give them safe harbor in the Department of Justice building. So they left. Louis Gohmert stayed and tried to have a conversation with people until they just whistled him and screamed and yelled and have a fit. Now, to me, I call that storming a press conference and shutting it down. I call that an insurrection against an official U.S., that's official U.S. business. But that's okay because they're leftists, so they can do that, right? And so everyone disbands and goes home and whatever, and Marjorie Taylor Greene makes a video and talks about it, and I write another article. Today, coming up to today, what happened was they decided to go and to take cameras and go to the prison in D.C. and say, listen, we want to come in and see the conditions of this prison. We have heard that there's a problem. We want to know. We want to see it with our own eyes. And at the prison today, and I wrote another article about that, and there's other people who are covering it, they were told, you are trespassing. You have to leave. So they said, wait a minute, we need to talk to your supervisor. And the woman said, okay, if you step outside, I'll have the supervisor come talk to you. And they said, okay. So Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louis Gohmert and Matt Gaetz step outside. They pull the doors closed, and they lock the doors to the prison. End of story. They were locked out of the prison. So Marjorie Taylor Greene did go and have another press conference and basically said, we have two-tier system of justice. Obviously, if you go, she said, I have gone down to, holding areas with the people coming across the border who are being treated perfectly well, fed, treated kindly, given all of this great stuff. And our prisoners, we can't even come in and see these prisoners who are, we can't even question them. We can't see them. Their lawyers can't get into them. We've heard that they've been thrown into solitary confinement, that they're not being allowed to have, they can't even get some shampoo. These are the complaints that have been coming out of it. So there's a woman who was interviewed. I wrote an article about her as well, and she went on the War Room to talk to Steve Bannon a couple of days ago. Her husband is one of the detainees there, and apparently she hasn't spoken to him since he was there. I think he's been there for 2 months. And she's the woman who was dragged out of her house, and I think there's another woman who was dragged out of her house. So we're hearing stories of families and couples who are being, taken out of their houses to be interrogated. Well, her husband is one of the detainees in the prison, and information has gotten out that at 9 o'clock every night, this group of detainees sing the Star-Spangled Banner to keep themselves motivated. At one of the press conferences, and you'll find that article as well, one of the parents read a letter from his son, who's detained, saying we're being treated horribly, but we're not giving up our patriotism to the country, but we want people to know that we're not monsters, that we're patriots who are in here. And so information is coming out that confirms to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louis Gohmert and the others, Matt Gaetz, that there is a problem. And it looks as though we can call these detainees who were arrested and not allowed bail. Because remember, the rioters were allowed bail. They were instantly released. These people, some of them have been there since January 6th, denied bail, and nobody can go in and see the conditions under which they're being held. Information is being leaked out that there's a problem in there. And so they're being called political prisoners. And I think that is shocking and powerful, and it should shake people and wake them up, if they're not yet already awake, that we have a serious problem in this country right now. We're laughing and telling great stories about a boat, but it's like, as you already know, as you and I already know, and the listeners already know, this is not America that we know anymore, where they'll tell these U.S. representatives that they're trespassing. And Louis Gohmert even says, the footage is in one of those articles, we're the people who decide how this place is funded. And the woman who's the prison guard says, yeah, I know, I understand. She's so rude, and it's mind-boggling, right? So did I get you torqued up yet? How do you feel about that story?
We spoke about this earlier, and I said some things to Kari Baxter Donovan that I may or may not say tonight. I'm not sure. But she knows exactly
don't say it.
How I feel about this. This situation is something that you would experience or hear about at length with, Venezuela, or maybe Cuba, or maybe East Germany under the Stasi, something of that nature. This is the United States of America the way it sits today. These are U.S. American lawful citizens, as opposed to the dreck that's fleeing over the border and isn't just comprised of Mexicans anymore, but generally what I told Kari Baxter Donovan, a flood of war-age males now. But they take priority over American citizens, over you, over me. This is the federal government keeping American citizens from due process. If the roles were reversed, the American Media Maggots would have been on this like flies and stink on shit from day one. But since it's leftists and a guy with a buffalo head and a painted face, now it's absolutely terrible. It's terrible. You don't get to see what happened to these January 6 people. They are, in fact, political prisoners. You don't get to see, and I'm wondering if we will ever see, the 14,000 hours of the January 6th tapes. I cannot offhand think of a building that has as many cameras and is as highly monitored as the U.S. Capitol building, and yet we can't answer the question, well, we know who, but we won't release video that may tend to incriminate the fact that the FBI had informants inside the Capitol inciting other people to riot. That story was already broken. So that's the truth. And the FBI is broken. We don't get to know who shot Ashley Babbitt, an unarmed white female. But I'll tell you right now, it was a black male named Lieutenant Michael Byrd who shot her. He was armed. She was unarmed. But you don't get to know his name, and it won't be made official. Why? Because she was an unarmed white female, and he was an armed black male who, in my opinion, murdered Ashley Babbitt. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. This is an upside-down, purple-skied, incredibly obtuse planet on which we live. And as I said earlier to Kari Baxter Donovan, we start to rise and we start to resist, or we do become Venezuela, or we do become Cuba. This is our federal government doing this to us. You can only push 50% of the population so far before bad things may happen. We don't get to know the FBI's role on January 6th. Matt Gaetz locked out, and multiple members of Congress locked out from reviewing the conditions of the January 6th prisoners. So as you already pointed out, Kari Baxter Donovan, I'll be off my platform in here in just a minute, Kari. We don't get to find out. Now, that's okay. The Capitol building became a tumultuous mess for 3 hours. Numerous arrests were made. People from January 6th are still in confinement. In the state of California, we spell it with a K, there's the worst prison possible called Pelican Bay. The worst of the worst of the worst of state of California inmates go to Pelican Bay. They are people who have already killed fellow inmates and or officers and cannot get along with anyone. They are kept in seclusion for 23 hours a day until the state of California was served with a suit saying that that is inhumane and you can no longer do that in Pelican Bay. But you can do that to lawful American citizens in D.C. jails. And there is your two-tiered system of, air quotes, justice, unquote. I have one more minute before the break.
And it's shocking to me because I have, a little tiny platform, and I think it's an interesting story, for multiple reasons, but it's not something that the media is covering. Even the conservative media is not covering these the story of how this thing started. They're just letting the people who are finding it are believing, they're just doing it for political theater. So now there's a number of people who are just coming after Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene and saying it's political theater. Listen, there was a letter. It was started at the House Oversight Committee. This is a totally legal and lawful process that was started from concerns that were validated enough. A U.S. House representative sent a letter of inquiry that was completely ignored. So just like audits, just like everything else, I don't have to normalize you. I'm not going to acknowledge you. I'm not going to answer. That's how the left is conducting all of their positions of authority in the government. Is just we don't have to talk to you because you are not, you're just smelly deplorables, and we don't need to acknowledge that you have any, rights, that you don't have any role here in the government, and so on and on. But so they've now attacked a president, they've, the House members, the state legislators. So it's pretty obvious there's a two-tiered system of justice, but also our Republicans, our representatives are not getting to do the work of the government for the people. So it is all of us, every single one of us.
And why aren't the Republicans united as one voice against this. Here's what's happening and here's what can happen. The faces that are being incarcerated now in the D.C. jail are people that you saw on video, and you haven't seen them now for 7 months. 7 months. This is something that you would see, as I indicated, in East Germany. Well, if they can disappear people like this, who's to say that, like Roger Stone, an FBI local SWAT team can't kick in your door and pick you up in your jammies, and then your ass would be disappeared for 7 months.
And for basic activism or showing up to a protest or a rally, something that the left has done and burned buildings down at, but we're not allowed to do that. Roger Stone was basically being an activist. I even said to him, this is my storyline when I'm talking about you, Roger, is if it can happen to Roger Stone and they can come after someone that close to the president for basic activism, all of us are in danger, but we already know that all of us are in danger, right?
Every one of us, Americans, you are less than a mote of dust in the eyes of the federal government. Wake the hell up. Look and see what's happening right in front of your eyes. I'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It is he that is me, bringing perspective from across the sea. Join me, Jack Alexander, 4 days a week for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the news and issues affecting life and liberty here in the USA. I'll show you what the mainstream media refuses to. Politics, border security, defense, healthcare, travel, nothing is off limits. Catch the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast each Monday to Thursday on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere good podcasts can be found. Also, check out the website, www.jackalexanderexperiment.com.
Come listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, for the best in late-night conservatarian wireless talk radio at shrmedia.com. Raised as a free-range child with dirt and freedom, BZ is broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room at shrmedia.com. Now, with 18% more umbrage and 20% more bulbosity than previous shows, and with delicious Liberty additives. Remember, BZ realizes that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the Unpleasant Blind Guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense League radio show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for air times. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy.
On EDL Radio.
There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I am back. We're speaking to Kari Baxter Donovan tonight. 1 hour gone already. It's 9:05 on the left coast. It is 12:05, 5 minutes past the magic midnight witching hour on the East Coast. And it's 1749 and 245.73, sock drawer 4, paragraph 17, rivet 4, in Bolivian time, because I don't know what the hell. I could never understand Bolivian time. It just never made any sense to me whatsoever. Kari Baxter Donovan is here. I wanted to go over the article that just came out recently, and I sort of teased it earlier about a strike. This is from freightwaves.com. Well, just when you thought supply chains weren't doing really well, get prepared for them to do a little worse, and here's why. Freightwaves.com, this is the headline: Canada border officers vote to strike, warn of supply chain disruption. Labor action could begin August 6th. Thousands of Canada Border Services Agency personnel have overwhelmingly voted to authorize a strike, something that could throw a wrench into port, cross-border trucking, air freight, and international parcel operations. The strike could happen as early as August 6th, the Public Service Alliance of Canada and its Customs and Immigration Union said on Tuesday, 2 days ago. The union represents some 8,500 CBSA employees, including officers serving at ports of entry across the country. The threat of a strike, because as BZ has said many times, timing is everything, comes as Canada prepares to reopen its land border to non-essential travel for the first time since March of 2020. So the timing wasn't lost on the union, which warned that a strike could lead to, quote, significant disruption to the flow of goods. The impacts could bring delays to commercial vehicle traffic and impact parcel deliveries and duties collection, the union said. Okay, the dealio is these union members have been without a contract since 2018, and they are seeking pay parity with other Canadian law enforcement agencies and protections against what they allege is a toxic workplace culture. So they're about to strike August 6th. Hold that thought. Let's say you're a builder anywhere in the United States. And I know this for a fact. I was looking at living in a home in Idaho, Wyoming, North Dakota, or South Dakota. Or Montana, and Montana. And one of the other things that I realized, I've been there twice for 2 10-day excursions looking for a place to go out of California, always spelled with a K. And one of the first things that I determined, and this was a month or two ago, is that you can't get wood. You can't get lumber. Now, in the northern portion of America, a bunch of that lumber comes from people. Canada. That's Canada. Right. That's right. Mm-hmm. From Canada. Well, already there are homes being built that have stopped. Home prices for people that are escaping communist states, home prices in free states have just gone fucking nuts. I would know about that. So if you want to throw a monkey wrench into the economy of the U.S. for 8,500 people in Canada, that's about to happen. So my suggestion would be, before August 6th, if you haven't yet gotten your solitary piece of plywood that you wanted to acquire because your windows were smashed in some kind of an urban rat cage, guess what? The plywood that you're going to be wanting for perhaps later on this summer, you're not going to be able to get. Because if they shut down the border, that shuts down anything and everything all through, if it goes through the border itself. Oh, and that includes lumber as well, or anything that we depend upon from Canada. I'm not sure petroleum will be affected because on his very first damn day, January 20th, Biden, I will never put the two. By the way, if you've ever noticed, folks, on my blog or me speaking, I have never put the two words president, ... and another word, and Biden together. And I'll not do this now. It's the Biden regime. Simple as that. And the Biden regime shut down all the Keystone XL pipeline on the very first day, making sure that when we at one point had energy independence, well, you can't have that now. We need $5 a gallon gas and $6 a gallon gas in Los Angeles. So get your wood now while you can. Get your $17 8-foot piece of 2x4 also while you can. While supplies last, kids. So I just wanted to make sure that I interjected that.
And I love truck drivers, and I just, I had to jump in immediately and say I'm on the side of the truck drivers. But that story is terrible. I don't like that story.
No, but basically what it says is we should not be surprised. Folks that have a lot of storage, and I've been talking to a lot of people, and this is, again, another reason why I would like to talk to you about this. There should be no surprise that people are hoarding everything. People are hoarding firearms. You can't get some firearms. By the way, Kari Baxter Donovan, who happens to be the greatest purchaser of new firearms these days?
Black women.
Women? Yeah. Why? Because they don't feel safe in their neighborhoods. Yeah, and what else can't you get? Ammunition. That's right.
No ammunition.
And other products that we've learned to hoard over the past year and a half, almost 2 years. So when you've got a supply chain that's completely turned upside down for no other reason that the federal government is paying people to stay home and stay out of the workforce, these shit sticks have very little interest or are particularly obtuse enough to not realize there are consequences to being this stupid. Political consequences, which I hope they suffer in 2022 next year.
We hope, if we're allowed to vote. Yeah, if we're allowed to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, with looking at the long, looking at a big board, and just putting all these pieces on the big board, and not looking at each individual piece, but looking at the whole thing from above. It certainly is not that there's a group of people in D.C. who are trying desperately to save the country and give us peace and quality of life. That's not happening. They're paying people to stay home, and we're probably going to be locked down again within the next couple of weeks, while they're invading the border full of people with all types of different diseases who are like you said, the war age males. And at some point you have to say, listen, I'm not rosy colored glasses anymore. There's something very, very bad going on. And anybody who can make a pattern, any amount of pattern recognition, who has known anything about history from anywhere in the world should be able to say, you know what? This is bad guys who are trying to take over the country. Okay, it is pretty obvious. You don't need to have a lot of details about some historically significant time or place. Isn't it obvious? I mean, pretty common sense. They're flooding us full of people while they're locking us down.
Locking down has already come to at least the state of California. In the county of Sacramento, where I am right now, the county of Sacramento health officials have said that if you go into any business now, you must be masked inside. Governor Newsom just said a couple of days ago that state workers will have to be vaccinated, or if you are not vaccinated, you are going to get tested every 2 weeks. That may backfire, you see, because state workers get to take time off for that to occur. And if you jerk a state worker around long enough, what could have been a 5-minute event may end up being a 2 or a 3 or a 4-hour event for this to happen. Meanwhile, in California, like I say, state workers became less free than others. Der Staat über alles sage Herr Gavin Newsom, who is facing, everyone realizes, a recall in September. And at this point, should it surprise anybody to know that talk show radio host, this is even worse, black conservative libertarian talk show radio host Larry Elder is running neck and neck with Gavin Baby right now. Imagine the thrill that would course up and down the spine of Auntie Pelosi should her little nephew be kicked to the curb by the California voters like Gray Davis was, which is how we happened to get Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold, we got the governor.
I remember that.
From the kicking to the proverbial curb of Gray Davis, the emptiest of empty suits. Mm-hmm. So imagine that. That's on your screen these days, folks. What a wonderful, loving time we live in these days.
Now, yeah, and my problem is, I've been ringing the bell for, I'm going to say, almost 30 years. For almost 30 years, from when I worked with Jesse Jackson, and I started to realize what they were doing in South Africa, is when I said, wait a minute, y'all are a bunch of damn communists. That's what the problem is. And I was very young then. And I've been talking about it for 30 years. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. And it's kind of scary to me in a weird way, because we've now gotten to the place in the country where this is what I predicted was going to happen, and I don't know what happens now. But for 30 years, I've known this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen, right? The schools, the hospitals, the health aid. I mean, who didn't know when Hillary Clinton was put in charge of socialized medicine that it was going to turn into a crap show? Okay, so I'm kind of scared because I don't know how we get out of this. And